What's going on, guys? In today's video, we're looking at the new released Diamond Select Ghostbusters Series 7. This is Slime Blower Winston Zeddemore. Please don't fall, please don't fall, please don't fall, please don't fall. Let's grab a tape measure quickly and figure out how tall Winston Zeddemore is. Well, the figure itself is 7 inches in height. Then you factor in the fact that he's got the slime blower tank on his back. Brings the figure closer to about 7.5, even 7.75 of an inch tall. For Firehouse pieces, he comes included with the top part of the door, or bottom part of the door, at least a half of a door. If you take, for example, the Weirback Egon, I don't know if it's supposed to go like this. Maybe it's supposed to, oh, it's probably going on this side, and then you'd have, you'd have 4 doors essentially, putting everything together. I can't do that because I didn't get some of the Ghostbuster figures from comic stores, so some of my figures only had the bare bones components. Yeah, kind of still sad about that. Other accessories included, one of the more gruesome aspects of Ghostbusters 2 was when the boys were down in the old abandoned railway terminal sort of thing, and they stumble across a series of severed heads all on these posts. I remember when I first saw the movie, and this was early 90s, so I would have been quite young in the movie theater. I remember that really it was a very frightening scene to see all these severed heads. Technically, this shouldn't go with this guy, but I mean, until they come up with the rubber-clad Ghostbusters, the ones that went underground to see the slime. I guess for the meantime, they included it with Slime Blower Winston. Even like the underside of the head, you can see the spinal cord. Just a very gruesome looking representation. I don't know if we'll get more of these that, they'll have a whole bunch of them kind of lined up as they did in that one scene. But you get one for the time being. Also included is something that we see quite frequently with the Ghostbuster releases. He comes with a walkie-talkie. And while it doesn't have any sort of additional paint to it, it instead sculpted quite nicely and fits pretty much in the same place as all the other Ghostbuster walkie-talkies. It fits right in the front pouch here. It's a little bit more trickier to get to it because he's got so much other stuff happening here, all of which we'll talk about in a second. And one of the big problems I have with this particular figure is I find his ankles are a tad on the loose side. We'll get into that in a second. Comes with a pair of interchangeable hands. The hands currently defaulted are gloved hands, but he also comes with an extra pair of gloved hands. No bare hands included with this particular figure of Winston. As a side note, anybody that's followed the Ghostbuster figures know that the bottom ends of the gloves are removable. These ones are no different. So you get a pair of those. And of course, you get yourself blowing slime. This is Slime Blower Winston, after all. He'd have to have some slime to blow, and he's got a good dolloping of slime that can be projected out from the cannon. I'll show you quickly how to do it, and then we'll kind of look at the figure itself. There's just a hole in the inside, the top area of the blower, and it just attaches inside of that, just like so. As you could probably guess it adds some additional weight, which makes a figure that's already top heavy even a little more trickier to stand. The slime, very nice in pink. The good slime in pink. I guess technically there's bad slime too, which is really not that much different in color, but we just call it the good slime. Okay, so having a look at the figure, like I said, he is a little on the loose side. Specifically, the ankle area is, this ankle here is the worst. This angle's not as bad, but this one, that coupled with the fact that he is very back heavy and very top heavy because of the nature of the tank being some added weight, I will likely display him. No, yes, I most definitely will display him with just this oval shaped display base. I have a bunch of these kicking around. I kind of wish that Diamond Select would package the figures with some display bases, but ultimately I'll just display him with that. Luckily he has peg holes on the undersides of both of his feet, so I only really need one for the one peg on the stand here, but I'll definitely be making use of that. As for the figure itself, he is clad in his original Ghostbusters outfit with some much needed upgrades. Of course, the big one being the tank featured on the back. I would love if I ever got a chance to speak to either Dan Aykroyd or, of course, now I draw an absolute blank, Ernie Hudson, thank you. I would love to ask him. One of my questions would be, how heavy were these tanks? Now, even you can imagine that these were obviously hollow, but I wonder if they were like extremely light or if they still had weight to them. I mean, as a movie prop, you would imagine that they would be relatively light. The tanks are very accurate to the movie itself, although you don't really see too long of them wearing the tanks. It's really only near the end of the movie. Some labeling here also on the side. There's the caution label, some material handling labels. Down below you also have a caution label there. Carries over also to this side. This section here would, like, there's a little green bar I think that moves up and down. Of course that's not here on the figure itself, but everything else is where it should be. It looks quite good. There's a label or a marking on the top that says no handle, and the padded cushion for them to rest their heads against. Paint is really clean. I have no problems with the paint whatsoever. You got the hose that runs out from the tank to the actual nozzle. I felt as if the nozzle or the main head of the slime blower, I thought was bigger in the movie. I went back and I looked at the footage again. I guess it's a fairly accurate size, but it does seem smaller, I guess, when you have the figure holding it. The slime blower has multiple tubes. It has two tubes, which are actually molded as one tube on the back here. And then there's a secondary tube that runs from the side, and both of them connect to different areas of the tanks. One at the bottom and then one at the side area here. I mean, just looking at it looks heavy. And then, of course, he's got the vest on the front here, which would keep everything attached onto their shoulders. And then he's also got some straps on the sides and a waist harness there also as well. The rest of the belt, and pretty much like from the waist down, it seems like regular Winston Zeddemore from the original release. So a lot of the new sculpting, I think, more so sits from the waist up. The face sculpt, something else that's brand new. Minus a mustache. And his hair is a little higher in this than in the original Winston Zeddemore. Face sculpt is good. Slightly on the shiny side, but otherwise pretty good head sculpt. Got the Ghostbusters 2 logo featured now on the shoulder section of his outfit. Can, of course, make out a... I wonder if you could lift this. I'm curious as to whether they can't possibly have printed... I don't want to damage the vest in the process. I don't think that they would have. No, they didn't. It'd be interesting if they went as far as to patch Zeddemore on the inside there, but I don't see it. But yes, this is all one rubbery appliance. So really, it could stand to reason that the torso underneath all this is the defaulted torsos that we got with the Ghostbuster figures. So this is a harness piece, rubber straps or rubberized plastic, and then you've got the soft rubbery strap here. The arms, the legs, and I guess to that matter, the torso could all be original pieces from of course, the original Winston Zeddemore. But otherwise, I really do like the figure. I think it turned out very nice. Definitely will be looking forward to getting the Slime Blower Ray. I guess I would have preferred Ray first, but I like the fact that we got Winston first instead, because we really don't have many instances in which we have a Ghostbusters 2 Winston. We've really gotten, two that I can think of, the marshmallow-covered Winston and a regular Winston from Ghostbusters 1, but I don't think we've gotten a Ghostbusters 2 Winston yet, so that's all the more reason why I think I appreciate this as the first release, but I think I'm really looking forward to getting a Slime Blower Ray. Let's run through his posability, though. His head rotates theoretically all the way around, despite the fact that he's got this additional part on behind his head here. You can also hinge the head up and down. Much like the original figures, the arms still hinge outward. You can rotate them all the way around. The tanks do not get in the way of it. Bend at the elbow, and through the process of doing so, I pop the hand off. I'm just going to replace it with one of the defaulted hands. Let's take this off here. Put this on. I want to talk about this actually in a second anyways, so I guess this works out well if I use the correct hand. There we go. Okay. All right, where we left off. Okay, hand rotates all the way around. He has an upper torso ball joint, but it really is limited by all the other stuff that he's got going on here. He's got a lower waist swivel, legs split out, forward and back on the leg, double hinge on the knee, and then you've got not only an ankle pivot, but it also rocks back and forth as well. Okay, so that's your figure. That's the tank and the slime blower. One thing I do want to mention before I wrap up this video is I do find that the slime blower is tricky to get into his hands. As you already had saw, the hands are for popping out, but I find that there's very little for his hands to hold on to. This handle here, the side of the slime blower, is a soft plastic. Here is also a very soft plastic, but also the handle is very narrow. So getting his hand on that, granted I'm using a different hand now, and getting his hand here onto this handle can be very, very tricky. Couple that with the fact that you want to keep the strap over his shoulder, I do find ends up being a very difficult accomplishment. You really have not nearly enough strap length for him to properly hold it. Then you got to try to find a means to bend the elbow, because the elbows don't bend nearly enough for him to fit both his hands onto the handles here. And on top of that, if that wasn't bad enough, you've also got the problem that the handles are soft rubber. So between the hands popping out, the handles here being soft, this being very small, it does make for holding the slime blowers and actually using them actually as displays. There goes the other hand. It does make for displaying the figure with it very difficult, as you probably have seen for the last couple of minutes. Since its first conception of the Ghostbuster line from Diamond Select, the two figures I was really looking forward to getting the most was Slime Blower Ray and Slime Blower Winston Zeddemore. Just because, well, we've seen enough Ghostbusters wearing proton packs in our day to get the different treatment, and something that we see only in Ghostbusters 2, the slime blowers, I think would have looked and translated well to figure form. Now physically getting Winston Zeddemore in hand, I think overall I'm pretty happy with the figure. It's not without problems, however, and of course some of the ones I've already touched base on over the course of this review. The tanks, of course, one would expect and one would be correct by saying that the tanks make the figure very back heavy and very top heavy, that I think a display stand is not even just a suggestion, but something I would strongly recommend. I think a display stand is the route to go if you ever want to get these particular figures to stand upright. If not, there's always the gamble that the figure is going to topple over, and 9 times out of 10 it is going to happen. And then the only other problem I really have with the figure is a combination of the hands popping out, especially because they are the gloved hands, and getting his hands to properly fit around the, what I find to be very flexible, and equally so, very small handles of the slime blower. I know they are movie accurate, but I wish that they had made the handles maybe a little of a denser plastic, and maybe the loop handle on the front of the slime blower maybe a little bit bigger so the hands would properly fit around it. It is a bit of a struggle to get them in place, but I think the end result is a better looking figure with more positives going for than negatives. And of course, incorporating the slimed effect coming out from the nozzle, which I just so happen to leave off for final looks, I think is the icing on the cake, which actually kind of looks like icing on a cake, which now I'm thinking about cake. Definitely looking forward to seeing what they're going to be doing with a race stance. I guess ultimately it's really just going to be this figure with a swap out of Ray's head. You could theoretically do that already by picking up a secondary Winston Zeddemore, but the darker skin tone in the neck would be the dead giveaway that you simply just swapped out Ray's head instead of Winston's. So I'm looking forward to what we're going to get with a Ray. I don't know if the accessories are going to be all that much different, or if it's really just going to be simply the exact same figure with a different head. Time will tell. Definitely will be very patiently waiting for Slime Blower Ray to be released, and then I'll display both figures, both Ray and Winston, side by side, maybe clanging their two slime blowers together like they did at the beginning of the scene in which they cover the Statue of Liberty with slime. A good overall figure. Despite whatever I may have said over the course of this video, I'm more happier than I am disappointed with this figure, and I'm definitely looking forward to more releases from Diamond Select. Today we were having a look at the Winston Zeddemore. To be specific, this was Slime Blower Winston Zeddemore from the Diamond Select Ghostbusters Series 7, which by the way is now currently available in comic book stores. I'm not going to plug Comic Shop Locator, but you can go there if you want to find a comic book store in your area. It's so funny how many people think I'm sponsored. I don't think Comic Shop Locator sponsors anybody. Anyways, if you wanted to hit that little subscribe button down below, more videos will be definitely coming your way. As always, thanks for watching, as you always do, guys. I'll see you next time.